It is such a thrill, from a guide's point of view, to take a group to a place as rich in history and culture as Italy, sit them down on broken chunks of ancient Rome, and try to explain the rise and fall of that great civilization. To be right there as a teacher, it is exhilarating. Now, on this itinerary, we've got starting in Milan, and then you take the train to Verona. Verona is the freshwater Cinque Terre, basically. It's a lake town, a sleepy resort in a 19th century romantic ambiance. I absolutely love it as a place to get used to Italy, to get over jet lag. Then we don't do Milan. You can do Milan before the tour if you want to. It's a great city. I wish we could, but we have to be realistic about how much do you try to do in a given amount of time. We get our bus, we go over to the Dolomite, the Italian Alps. This is so exciting to see the Alps of Italy, and we'll see slides of that in a sec. Then, of course, to Venice, to Florence, over to the Cinque Terre. After Venice and Florence, you want to just lay on the beach. And Cinque Terre is the way you have your uninterrupted day for hiking between the villages into the national park and visiting those little traffic-free towns that are so exciting for me to visit. And then a quick stop at Pisa to check out the Leaning Tower and the cathedral. Siena, one of our favorite towns in all of Europe. A quick look at Assisi with a local guide, the hometown of St. Francis. A look at small town Umbria, and a finale in Rome, flying home from Rome. We're very tuned in to the complexity and cost of flying in and out of different cities. It makes a lot of sense to start on one end and fly out of the other end. It saves you a whole day of travel, and it costs you no more. So you're flying into Milan, and you're flying out of Rome, assuming you're going to start and end your trip with our tour. You get over there any way you like, by the way. We just meet you at the first hotel. And in this case, the first hotel is in this little town. And that looks pretty remote, but it's a direct train ride from downtown Milan. So it's very easy to get there, and 3 hours after you're out of the airplane, you're sitting there surrounded by Italy in this misty wonderland where the lakes of northern Italy are sort of welded to the Alps. And you look over there, and that's Switzerland, and you get set up in a beautiful hotel right in downtown Verona. This is Alfeo. When I'm traveling around, I spend 4 months a year in Europe researching and making the TV shows. I'm always meeting our guides and dropping in for dinner and so on. And here Alfeo is teaching his group how to sing Italian song before their dinner. And it's just so fun to see our guides hands-on with the groups, introducing them to the wonders of the culture that they're so excited to share. From that village, Verona, you've got a ferry ride that takes you all bopping around the lake, and you've got a day pass with the group so you can get out there and explore the lake. And towns like this on the lakes are just wonderful to explore. Here in the north of Italy, you kind of get the best of both worlds. It's the Teutonic northern style Italy. This is called honeymoon country, and for good reason. Everybody up there seems to be on a romantic break, anniversary trip or a honeymoon or whatever, and it is a place where you really enjoy slowing down and savoring the moment. With the traditional ferries, you can explore Lake Como, that's Lago di Como. The famous place is just across the water, Bellagio. Bellagio. A lot of people go to Las Vegas to see Bellagio. I would rather go to Italy to see Bellagio. This is Bellagio. People have time on their own. They've got their guidebooks. They're encouraged to exercise that freedom. We orient you, we do what we should do together, but you're not in a ball and chain sort of situation with your group the whole time. You've got plenty of free time after you've been oriented and organized, so you're confident that you've done the essential stuff together in an efficient way. Now you're free to do the rest of it on your own. You have a chance to go down to Milano if you want. It's an exciting town before the tour. You will meet your bus driver on the day you leave Verona, and we always have big buses, generally about twice as many seats as people. I'm passionate about this. I just think it's so exciting to be able to get on that bus and spread out. So you're going to meet your driver and your bus, and this is kind of an exciting day because you're on the road, and the driver helps you stow your bags underneath. You want to be mobile. There's none of this people carrying your bags up to your room. We carry our own bags, and well, this is one of our tours, and this is how people pack. The drivers are an important part of the equation. The drivers are friends of the company, friends of the group. There's no jockeying for tips. The driver is tipped royally, included in the tour. He knows it. And he's driving because he's our great guide. He's done 20 tours with us, okay? He knows the drill. There's a huge conflict of interest in the tourist industry for guides and drivers that we do not have in our company. Our guides are the best paid guides in Europe, and they're paid up front. They can't make any more money. There's no tipping. They're not going to make more money if you do more shopping, none of that stuff. And I just think that's why I got into this business 30 years ago, and that lets your guide be your friend instead of your guy who's trying to keep you in the dark and sell you stuff. You got one precious shot at this itinerary, and you don't want your driver stopping here instead of there because he's working on a chip card where 5 visits and he gets a free bottle of wine. You know, that's what motivates other tour buses. We don't allow that, and I think that's very important. The buses are great these days, the modern buses, plenty of extra room, and you're heading up to Südtirol or Alto Adige. That is the Dolomite area, the dramatic Alps in Italy, and your hotel is actually in a meadow up here, the highest meadow in the Alps, Alpi di Susi. I've researched the whole area, and for me, the slam dunk. This is where you experience that German end of Italy. And the people speak German. They're enthusiastic about yogurt. They yodel when they're happy. And you wander around, and it's a meadow. It's like it's got a beach ambience, but there's no sea. There's just mountains and lounge chairs and farm animals to pet. And you just have a whole day with your guide to explore that area. There's one great town that I just love called Castelrotto or Castle Ruth. There's two names for things, Italian and German. And there's lots of traditional culture. Before you head on to Venice, and when you get to Venice, you drive down that causeway and you realize you're coming into this magic city that was the superpower of Europe for centuries. For centuries, the Venetian dollar was the dollar of Europe. For centuries, it was a trading empire that stretched all the way to the Holy Land, and you're going to be staying right in the middle of it. Most tour groups stay on the mainland. It's cheaper for the hotels. Everybody gets a shower and an elevator and so on, and everybody pays extra to go into the town. We pay more for our hotel to stay right downtown, so you step out in the morning and you're there. You want to take a walk after dinner, you're right there in the heart of it. We love that. We insist on that. Venice is beautifully preserved, of course. There's a law that prohibits anybody from changing their buildings, and when you wander around the town, you will recognize that. You'll have a good orientation tour down the Grand Canal. You will get good on your own in the town. You will realize that during the middle of the day, it's a mob scene. Your guides will get you off the beaten path. Your guides will get you into the museums without waiting in lines. It is critical that you avoid those lines, especially in Italy. And it's crowded in Italy all year long. There's no off-season, basically. You need help of a guide, or you're going to be standing in a long line and get up to the front and realize, oh, they don't let you in with short pants, or something like that. There's so many pitfalls that can be very frustrating, but if you do Italy well, it's a joy. My mark of a good traveler is how they enjoy Italy. If somebody just went to Italy and hated it, I don't tell them to their face, but I think not a very good traveler. You know, they were frustrated by things that were Italian. Hey, you know, do it their way, figure it out. It works for 65 million Italians. It works for more, I mean, our Italy tours and our Italy guidebooks outsell every other country. It's just a festival, if you do it on its terms. Of course, the Piazza San Marco has the music, it's crowded, it's a festival. I like to be out early or be out late when you really have the town to yourself. And you're staying right downtown, so you can do that. This is the Rialto Bridge. Doge's Palace. You can go through the palace, you will. You can go to the top of the Campanile. At the top of the outer hill, those bells ring. You can get a good view of the St. Mark's Square like that. We will do the essential things, for instance, seeing the glass blowing. That's a lot of fun. We will see art in situ rather than in museums. You can go to a museum in Venice and see 30 Titians on the wall, or you can go into a church a few blocks away and see one great Titian where he was paid to create it. And then right next to that, a Bellini and a Giorgione and a Canova in one church. And to me, to have a good guide explain the art of the Renaissance of that town, the Venetian Renaissance, looking at the art in situ, where it was designed to be, that's a beautiful package. And you need a guide to help you get turned onto the art in a lot of cases, and your guide will do that, and it's really fun in Venice. Of course, you need a romantic place for dinner, and of course that's a high priority for us in our tours, is how do we organize the eating experiences so that you have a good experience in Venice. And it's, frankly, it's quite a touristy town. There's 50,000 Venetians, and there's that many tourists prowling around for dinner. There's not a restaurant in town that doesn't thrive on tourism, but there are restaurants that are a good experience and respect the customers, and there are tourist traps. If you know my program, Europe Through the Back Door, you know I'm just all about getting away from the tourist traps. I'm very comfortable putting guided tours in with my passion for independent travel, because our passion is to take the efficiency and economy of guided travel and then offer you that same sort of educational, challenging, experiential time, even though you've got a tour, because you've got a tour. It's a fun little dance to be able to do that, and I think we pull it off in a way that works very well. You're having the best of both worlds when you take one of our tours, and you're eating well. I'll tell you one thing, our guides know how to eat, and they love to take the groups with them to share that. And we've got friends all over the place that run these little restaurants, and it's just so much fun to see, especially after the economic hard times that they've had in the last few years. They really respect the tourist trade now, and they will hustle for us. And they know that we drop a restaurant or a hotel if they start to take it for granted. And people are scrambling to earn our business and to make sure our travelers have a good time. As I said, you'll have the essential experiences. We will organize a gondola. It's kind of a touristy thing to do, but I'll tell you, once you get in that gondola, you see a whole different Venice, a parallel Venice, and it's a nice experience going through the back alleys and our back lanes and under the Bridge of Sighs. You got the touristic center, and you've also got the back areas of Venice. And one fascinating thing about Venice is it can be almost sinking under its tourist crowds in the main center of the town. And then you walk, 10 minutes away from the crowds, and you find yourself in a neighborhood like this, and there's not a hint of tourism. It's just a pastel wonderland. You're going back centuries, and people are living there. It's an amazing thing. And what's impressive to me is how few travelers ever get there. Remember, on other tours, the guide's motive is to keep you shopping with him. It's huge. Typically, guides are paid a token wage, and they make their money by taking you shopping. And they build up all these shopping expectations. The mantra is never give them time to shop around so they know what fair value is, and then they'll only shop where you take them. And it's just a real mess. I assume you've got one shot at Venice, and we work very hard to make sure it's the very best Venice, not corrupted by our financial needs. We've made all our money as soon as you sign up on the tour. We're on your side from then on. Some people say, how do you make any money on this? When they look at it would cost almost as much to do on their own as to take a tour. If I can talk 25 people into sharing one bus, compared to 25 people renting cars or taking train passes, that's more than enough profit right there to keep me happy. And if I can arrange everything else so it's just a wash, eating, sleeping, experiences, sightseeing, museums, and so on, then it's a good experience and a valuable efficiency for the travelers, and it's good business for us. So that's sort of the fundamentals of running a tour company in the way I like to run it. 3 hours south by bus, you get to Florence. And here is the small town that was the epicenter of that cultural explosion 600 years ago that really changed the world. It brought us out of the Dark Ages and into the modern world, the Renaissance. Renaissance, the rebirth to the wonders and culture and sophistication and confidence of the classical world. And it happened in Florence, the most urban part of Europe at the time. The banking capital, had a lot of money, it had a lot of pride. There's a lot of city-states, each with its own pride. You'll pick that up when you have your guides talking to you about the United States of Europe. They say Italy is the land of 1,000 bell towers. Everybody just loves the sound of their bell tower. It's a fascinating thing. In 1870, when they created the modern state of Italy, the big George Washingtons of Italy said, now we've created the state of Italy, now next we need to create Italians. And they're still trying, That's a real interesting thing. You find that every city hall will have 3 flags: the regional or state flag, the national flag, and the European flag. And everybody has different loyalties. So Florence, there we have the Great Dome, and the city palace, the Uffizi Gallery, and the Arno River. You can climb to the top of that dome. That's the dome that really kicked off the architectural Renaissance. From the dome, you can look out over the city and see where you'd walk to get to the Uffizi Gallery or the Bargello or the river on the other side of the river. Again, your hotel will be in the center. We pride ourselves in having hotels right where you want to be. It's not a budget trick. It's more expensive that way. These are not designed for tourists or for groups. These are designed for individuals, but we're passionate about having you oriented and being able to step out in the morning and go to the market before breakfast if you're so inclined. Or go across the street to a little pub and hang out with local people after the group's done for the day. You're right downtown. The lion's share of people who take tourists to Italy are staying in the Florence area. Read the tourist brochures from the other companies. It says you'll be sleeping in the Florence area. That could be halfway to Bologna. It's going to be in the middle of nowhere where the hotel is cheap and there's nothing for you to do except for buy stuff from them. Buy meals from them, buy sightseeing from them, go shopping with them. To me, it's a huge decision you make. What motivates your choice of tour companies? When you look at Florence, you've got an overwhelming big sprawling city today. But remember, it was a small town in the 500 years ago when we were interested in it, encircled by a wall. That's a circular road today. So if you peel away the rest of the city and just look at what's within the circular road that used to be the wall, you've got your target. Of course, this is the celebration of humanism, and you're going to go to the Accademia, and you're going to see Michelangelo's David, and you're going to be looking into the eyes of Renaissance man. boy, with the Renaissance, it wasn't a repudiation of God, but it was a feeling that the best way to glorify God is not to bow down in church all day long, but to recognize the talents that God gives us and then go out there and use them and create things and do great things. And that was the spirit, I think, that motivated Michelangelo. And we go here today, you see that confidence of that new age, that humanist age, the Renaissance, and you look at it in David as he's sizing up the giant before he was going to slay the giant. Just like Florence had to rise above its bully neighbors, city-states. You know, this is sort of an apt mascot for the city of Florence. There's lots of Michelangelo you're going to see on this tour, lots of great Renaissance art. This is one of my favorite statues by Michelangelo. Very few people see it. It's just behind the cathedral, in the museum of the cathedral. A beautiful Pieta Michelangelo did when he was finishing up his career. In fact, that's a self-portrait of Michelangelo. And when we think of what Renaissance artists are doing, they're using their ability to get realism to make an impact. It's not just a Pieta, Jesus' body with Mary taken off the cross. It's a theological message. Jesus died, he was killed for your sins, and he's dead now. You want that dead weight of Jesus. And to show that dead weight, Michelangelo made Jesus taller than he was, and it really feels like he's heavy, instead of the papier-mâché Jesuses you'd see in the Pietas of the earlier generations. Do you see the difference here? And you can, with a guide right there, I'm doing this little exercise because your guide is going to stand right there and illustrate to you what is the big deal. You know, too many tourists are dumbed down. Think of our society right now. Think of the dumbed downness. What's with the dumbing down of our society? It's good for business. Just go shopping. If we're not careful, we're all going to be mindless producer consumers. In your travels, you've got an opportunity not to be dumbed down, but to be smarted up. But the inclination of the industry as a whole is to dumb you down. Frequent flyer miles, duty-free shopping, fun in the sun on the beach, just, you know, what's the power of your sunscreen? Let's go shopping. You know, I'm not against that, but if it means that you float through Italy and are not changed and touched, I think it's a huge lost opportunity. You're going to have your fun in the sun, but you're also going to have your challenge and your growing experiences and gain an appreciation that different people find different truths to be self-evident and God-given. And Italy comes out of a very rich heritage. And to come home from your trip to Italy appreciating that, I think is the most important souvenir, and you'll all have that souvenir when you take our tour. This is the Uffizi Gallery, the greatest collections of paintings from Italy anywhere in the world, and you're going to tour that together. Most people will go there waiting in line, because that's what people do. They go to the Uffizi, and they, just like you wait in line for an hour to go to a ride at Disneyland, you wait in a ride for 2 hours to go to here, and you're going to see the Botticellis and get out. We've made an appointment already. You walk right up to the turnstile with your guide, your local guide, who's a scholar, and you go through there and you nail the Uffizi with a great inspirational scholar. And then you'll understand how heady it was when Botticelli was painting these fleshy, pagan, pre-Christian figures in a time when a generation earlier they would have locked him up for that. It was an amazing, exciting time in Florence, and you're going to know that when you travel there. You're going to see these artists taking mathematical laws of 3D, incorporating them into flat frescoes and making it look like they just blasted a hole in the wall. I mean, that looks like an extra chapel because Masaccio knew the arithmetic to make 3D. At night, the city has a real charm, and any time of day, the city has a very nice taste experience, gelato. The best gelato in Italy is right there in Florence, and you can bet your guide knows and is enthusiastic about it. Your guide probably knows the people who own the gelato shop, and we just love to make everything an experience. We want it hands-on and tongue-on, okay, in this case. You're gonna know what the magic of Italy is when you're in Florence. Okay, you had all that heavy culture, now it's time for a little time on the beach. You're gonna drive right to the Cinque Terre, the Italian Riviera, and here we have 5 villages nestled in the most rugged part of the Italian coastline, put there centuries ago by people hiding out from the pirates. And there's still these castles you'll see in every town that were designed to holler a warning when the pirates are coming, surrounded by vineyards, connected by nice trails. It's a national park now, so nobody can change any of their buildings. And we stay, we leave the bus. There's a time when you're going to be thankful you're packing light, and you've got your, these people are packing the right sort of weight, and then you'll go into this wonderland of the Italian Riviera. We've got great hotels, we've got great restaurants, we've got great experience lined up for you in this little chunk of Italy that really kicked off my whole program. These are the classic original back doors. I wrote Europe Through the Back Door in 1980, and it was how to travel, plus a collection of my 20 favorite Cinque Terre type places, and these still are the flagships of our tour program, to go to these places and enjoy that kind of magic. And you have a guide who's got friends right there. And you're going to know that, oh, thank goodness the new priest decided not to ring the bells between midnight and 6 a.m., so we're all going to get some sleep. And, just where to go after dinner for a nice glass of wine as the sun is setting. And, in the morning, if you go up here, it's a beautiful view. And, just how to get the best trail in and out of town. It's called the Via dell'Amore, the walkway of love between some of these towns. And you've got now a whole day just to enjoy your well-deserved break on the beach. And this is my favorite chunk of the Italian Riviera. Beautiful people, beautiful opportunities, beautiful support in the small family-run hotels that we use, and a great opportunity for you to meet local friends and make friends with Italians. There's something about, you got to admit, there's something about the wine and the women of Italy that just keeps people coming back. And I'm just charmed by it. And you will be too, I'm sure. So it's nice, we want to have an intense, experiential, well-organized time, but it is your vacation also, and we want to be sure that you've got a good chance to just hang out. And you've got the information, you've got the centrally located hotel, you've got a guide who's oriented you, and in this case, given you the pass to the park so you can hop on the train whenever you want to go, and you know how it works. It's just a beautiful challenge for us to organize you so that you do enjoy your visit to the max. Each evening in the Cinque Terre is just a magical, magical experience, and that's something that we want you to get the most out of, and you will. Leaving there, we'll stop at Pisa to check out the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and it's leaning a little more each year. We do our best to keep it straightened up with each visit. And so do they, pumping out the water underneath and counterbalancing it or whatever. Good stop in Siena, and people who love Italy love Siena, I'll tell you that. This is a good shot that shows you how mobile you need to be with your tour. It doesn't matter how good the tour is, you got to get out of the hotel in the morning and onto the bus. That's a headache you got to incur. We minimize the one-night stands. It's almost always two-night stands. That's much more comfortable. We park as close as we can, but because of the nature of our hotels, you got to do a little walking. And you're going to be glad you got your wheels or your tight little bag and your ability to be in shape and carry your bag to the bus or to the train. This is one of our guides, Lisa. And she's got her well-designed roller bag. I would be carrying my bag on my back like this guy. You can imagine what it's like when 25 people check out of a hotel, go to the bus, go to the next town. I'm so happy about the people that run our hotels, and they've been with us for years. I grew up with this guy. I mean, his mom used to run the place, now he does. He's got a charming little family-run hotel, and all across Europe, we have our friends that we've been with for 20 years now, the second generation, and they really value our tour business. And that is a huge plus. I mean, it's sort of behind the scenes, but you'll notice that we've got friends everywhere on our tours, and that's one thing that is a key to our success as a tour company. The rooms are simple. I'm not bragging about the rooms. If somebody says a 5-star room, I don't need it. I'm in Venice. I'm not in the room that much. I want a safe, quiet, clean place where I can get a good 8 hours of sleep, and an efficient place with a good, friendly family that runs it that can be on my side if I have questions. This is a typical room, I would say. Okay. That would be a typical room. That would be a typical party. I love it to just, whether you drink or not, there's a lot of alcohol in Europe, and teetotalers jump right in there. Nobody knows who's drinking or whatever. But it is just a lot of fun when you get swept up in the mood, in the moment. And our guides really enjoy orchestrating and putting together these kind of parties. And the last tour I went on, this group just loved to dance and get me in trouble with the people who owned the hotel the next morning when they made so much noise late at night. Siena is the magical place, which is so proud and so still medieval. And one moment the square is like this, and another moment the square is like that. And your guide knows what's happening, what's coming around the corner. And your guide will be sure that you're at the right spot at the right time so you can enjoy the festivities that are breaking out all around you as people in Italy are celebrating their annual calendar of parties and so on. And it's nice to know what the meaning of that is. It's nice to know the heritage of the competition between Siena and Florence. And why do they have this 1,000-year-old competition? And why do they have halos and gold leaf long after Florence has the more reality stuff? And then we go to Assisi, and we meet our guide in the valley, and he'll take us to the little church that St. Francis and his guys used as a fixer-upper to start the order of the Franciscans. And then we'll go to the top of the town, and you get a nice walk through the whole town, and you will finish with a very inspirational, beautiful visit to the Basilica of St. Francis, and then you'll have some free time. That's such a more meaningful and solid experience than 90% of the people on tours that go to Assisi. I come out of this whole program, or I got into this whole program after escorting other tour companies and seeing what disinterest they had in people's intellectual and cultural and artistic experiences. And I've hired and connected with people who are just so passionate about being teachers. And if you go to Assisi, you come out of there changed. Assisi is a magical experience. And to understand it that way, then when you go to the Basilica of St. Francis, you understand why for 800 years, pilgrims have gone there and been moved. Orvieto is your classic hill town. And we'll stop at Orvieto. You can see it's a volcanic plug on top of the rock there, and it's got a great cathedral, and nearby are all sorts of towns that have these characteristic towers. Noble families all had their own towers, like, kept Romeo and Juliet, the families feuding. Each family probably had its noble tower. When kings came on, they said, enough of noble power, cut everybody's towers off. San Gimignano is one town that maintained its medieval skyline, and today it's quite popular for tourists because it has that medieval skyline of all those towers. This is a little town, Civita di Bagnoregio, a little hill town. Your guide will get you into the magic of Umbrian hill towns and so on his way to Rome. Okay, and when you get to Rome, you've got the Eternal City. And the Eternal City, and we're set up right downtown. It's a challenge for your guide to make sure that you understand it from an ancient point of view and from a Vatican point of view. And then that you've got time just to celebrate what is Rome today. I think I could spend more time in Rome, along with Paris, London, and Istanbul, than any other city. That's why Rome is one of our best-selling city tours. Just go there for a week, and that's why I love it to be the climax of this Best of Italy tour we're talking about today. Your guide will take you there into the Forum and let you know what it was like when the Imperial Army would come back after some triumph and have that victory parade right down the Via Sacra with all the booty and the plunder and the king of the barbarian king in a cage that everybody could hoot and holler at. If you think about the Empire of Rome at its peak, this is the city of Rome right here, is perfectly in the middle of where it went, as it became synonymous with the word civilization. Back in those days when you said the word Rome, you didn't mean the city of Rome, you meant the entire civilized world. Everything was either Roman or barbarian. If it spoke Latin or Greek, it was Roman, part of the empire. It's a fascinating thing to be there at the center of that with a guide who knows how to resurrect that rubble and give it meaning. And I'll tell you, I got complete confidence in every one of our guides' ability to take you through Rome, given your limited time, in a smart and efficient way. Most people wait a long time to get into the Colosseum. We will get you into the Colosseum without a wait, and you will really understand it. You'll go to the Pantheon, and you'll look up at that dome, and you'll think, wow, this is the greatest dome from antiquity, still surviving. This is the wonder of the age. For 1,200 years, nobody built a bigger dome. Designed on smart Roman plans, exactly as wide as it is tall, 140 feet by 140 feet. Made with concrete that they poured to get more porous and light and less strong as it got to the top, so it could actually stay standing and be strong where it needed to be strong and less strong where it needed to be light. Learn about that, and then you learn about the engineering skills of Rome and why so much of it survives today. That gives us a good look at the wonders of that age. Now, one of the great news sites in Rome is the Peace Arch, the Arch of Peace that was built to celebrate the establishment of the Pax Romana. The story of Rome goes 1,000 years, from 500 BC to 500 AD. It grows for 500 years, it peaks for 200 years, and it falls for 300 years. When they finally got to that point where everybody was basically conquered and everything's going to be okay as long as you go with our rules, that was the Pax Romana, establishing 200 years of stability. And they celebrated that with this arch. Your guide can take you to these places so you understand what's the story. And then you got the modern history. This was built 100 years ago to placate the king of Italy, and it's considered quite an ugly building, sitting on the top of Roman, precious Rome. But you can go to the top of that building now. There's even an elevator that takes you up there to give you a view of the city, which is a marvelous view because it does not include that Victor Emmanuel monument. Of course, you'll spend a good part of your Roman time at the Vatican, checking out the greatest church in Christendom. And all of the importance of the Vatican is these three words, tu es Petrus, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. And you'll learn the whole story of that, and you'll stand there on the square looking at the obelisk that Peter looked at on the day he was martyred, before his followers took his dead body up to the little hill, where there's a humble cemetery on the Vatican Hill, and worshipped there for 300 years in secret, before Constantine became a Christian and said, okay, it's okay. And they built a big church there that lasted until the age of Michelangelo. I mean, isn't that exciting to just understand a little bit about why is this stuff here? Why do we have the Pope in Rome? There's a reason, and it comes clear when you have a good guide right there in the Vatican. Here we have from the top of the dome, looking out at the grand boulevard Mussolini built, so you could actually see the dome from a distance. And here you have that obelisk that Peter saw the day he was killed. And here you have the symbolic outstretched arms of the Pope, greeting the faithful. We like to become Catholics even if we're not. When we go to the Vatican, we park our Protestant sword at the door. We appreciate it on its terms with respect. And I like that. And you'll go there and you'll see Michelangelo's beautiful Pieta. Not only see it, understand it. And your guide will take you through the Vatican Museum, and you will be the happiest group in the Vatican Museum. For most people, it's an exhausting obligation. Your guide will make it fun. I promise you that. And the culmination will be the Sistine Chapel. And you'll know the top was built in the High Renaissance, where God is creating Adam with that spark of life, and Adam is almost the same stature of God. This is humanism. And then 25 years later, Michelangelo came back and was hired to do the Last Judgment. And now people are going to hell and people are going to heaven, and this is counter-Reformation church propaganda art. And you're going to understand, psychoanalyzing the two different masterpieces by the same man, but in two different ages. Oh, I'd love to have more time to talk about that. There's two overlays of visitors to Rome. There's tourists and there's pilgrims. You don't need to climb the stairs on your knees, but you can know about that. And that's a fun thing to be aware of. At night, the police close down the main drag, and it is one big festival. Everybody's out seeing and being seen. It's called the Strutio in Rome. That's called the rubbing. Everybody's out rubbing each other. It's sort of it's a mating kind of ritual. And we shall be there, rubbing the locals. Your guide will be on hand in case the rubbing gets out of hand, but it is important. In fact, I just had a big meeting with my staff, and we don't want to protect you from your getting out of your comfort zone. Not just this, but there's a lot of experiences I want you to have. I want you to go home with a grasp of reality as best as a tourist can, and our guides are with me on that. So I hope you're interested in an experience. If you don't want an experience, there's better tours for you. But we're so passionate about getting you out there on the streets so you understand what the Strutio is all about. And then you get back to the United States and you wonder, where are all the people? I walk down the streets in Edmonds when I get home from a trip after dark, and it's like mothers are grabbing their kids tighter and keeping them away. There's a man on the streets. You know, it's a different world in Europe, I'll tell you that, and it's a celebration. And that's what we're really excited about, is connecting you with that celebration, and the Europeans know how to live well. So, with this itinerary, I've just taken you through what we think is the best of Italy. And the best of Italy is one of 5 or 6 different itineraries that we have in our material that we're offering today, and it is just so exciting to be able to have as our challenge putting together the very most efficient and experiential and enjoyable and fun package for you in an affordable way. Thank you very much, and happy travels. Thank you.